Hello. Hey folks, Nat here from Ben Plant Music. Hoping you're all having an awesome start to your Christmas holidays. To help arm you guys up in the bit of time that we have off, we're doing some oral skill development, so exercising our critical listening. So this is part, I think, 4 in a series of videos. And the idea is we're going to analyze different aspects, different layers of the music. So I'm pretty sure you guys, the ones that have met me and the ones that know me, know exactly what genre of music I'm going to be taking care of. Metal. So Nat, I hear you ask, what are these layers of music? Well, simply put, we have timbre, which is the sonic quality of sound. Sonic, say if an instrument sounds metallic, or does it sound wooden, or does it sound like you're hitting a watermelon with a baseball bat? Texture. Texture is a similar kind of related thing to timbre in a sense, but texture goes into, we're going to go into a little bit more detail on what these things exactly are and differentiates them. Dynamics, as we've discussed during class, volume, things like that. Rhythm, that does what it says on the tin. Harmony, melody, and lastly, form and structure, which form absolutely everything we've ever heard, one way or another. So, let's get to it. Each of the things we're going to be discussing today, we're going to have a little bit of an attached listening exercise to it. Now, the list of songs will no doubt be in the description, but I am going to tell you the song so you can actually look it up on YouTube or what have you. So, timbre. Timbre is the sonic quality of an instrument or a sound. Just like I sort of gave a bit of a praise before. So that means it's general characteristics. So say if I played a G major chord on a guitar, if I did the same thing on a different instrument, I'm pretty sure Ben mentions this in his video, it's going to, whilst be fundamentally the same chord, it's not going to sound the same. Of course it's not. So, a timbre, we describe that as, if I asked you what the timbre of something is, I'm asking you what the quality is, the characteristics that make up that instrument. The song we're actually going to check out, and yes, this is going to be a bit of a tour de force of metal, if you will, is going to be Outlive Them All by Visigoth, band from Utah over in the States. Now here is your mission, should you choose to accept it. I want you to listen to the song from start to finish, and with a pen and paper, identify every instrument and try and, well, we say the performing media, and try to describe their characteristics. Now you usually use some kind of an adjective here. You would go, okay, that guitar sounds metallic. Well, yeah, it's metal. But, oh, well, hang on, there's something else in there. That vocalist, there's some kind of effect on his voice. What's the timbre of that? It's a kind of ghostly and ethereal. You got the idea there. So think adjectives. Does it sound wooden? Does it sound metallic? Does it sound boxy? Use your imagination, and I'm sure you'll do just fine. Texture. Texture's a bit of a funny one. At first glance, it might seem like something that's very closely related to what we just discussed before with timbre. And it kind of is, but it's a little bit more than that. So texture is actually more of a combination of a bunch of elements. So much as the name implies, is something sounding rough? Does it sound smooth? Has it got a flowy, silky kind of a texture? Similar sorts of adjectives. So what is the combination of things that make up texture? Well, texture is really a combination of both the rhythm, the rhythmic values within the melody and the harmony and how they interact. It's basically an amalgam that creates an overall impression, a fabric in a sense. I guess that's where the idea originally comes from. So, with texture, I've got a bit of a mission for you. Listen to the track Fire It Up by Black Label Society. Zakk Wylde, famous for playing with Ozzy Osbourne, for those that are unfamiliar. Here's how we're going to work in with texture with this. Listen to the track, and similar to what you did with timbre, in fact you can kind of use the same process, work out what each instrument's kind of sonic quality is, but take it a step further. Well, how would you describe in a term of texture the interplay between instruments. So let's say the drums, the bass, and the guitar will all create a bigger impression of a texture of a sort. So does it sound, once again, does it sound rough? Does it sound bouncy? You get pretty creative with these words, because in reality, whether you're a hobbyist or someone that actually wants to go pro, you're going to be in a situation where someone's going to try and ask you to describe a sound, or you're trying to describe the sonic quality to somebody else. Sometimes, if it's a singular instrument, you'll be talking about the timbre. If you're talking about a grouping of instruments, that's where texture starts to come in a little bit more. Dynamics! So much as what we've already learned in class, dynamics refers to the volume within music. But furthermore, if we're going to expand this to the guitar itself, it's not just the volume, but it's also how we're attacking a note. Obviously that's going to alter the volume, but a dynamic marking will, let's say, remember we were talking about piano and forte, piano meaning soft, forte meaning loud. The more P's, the softer, the more F's, the louder. Let's say if I write something with 3 F's, okay? That's going to be pretty loud. Thus that marking is actually asking me to attack the note a little bit harder to produce that volume. But in doing so, I'm actually giving that note its own characteristic. It's kind of a cool thing that we can actually muck around with. So if there was like a P, I would go... It's pretty hard when you're amplified, but I'll just turn my pop down a little bit. Oh yeah. Got the idea there. So, here is the listening exercise for this little segment. We're going to listen to an absolutely awesome song that takes me quite a bit back, and that is Dance of Death by Iron Maiden. So if you're not an Iron Maiden fan, you should be, but Dance of Death, here is what we're going to do with it. Grab yourself parchment and quill and a lovely little inkwell, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to listen to the song, and as you go along, every few bars, write down what dynamic marking you think it is. Remember, P is quiet and F is loud, piano and forte. So the more P's, so if we put 5 together, like P, 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 that means, where if it's 5 F's, I am not going to blast your head off with that, but you very much so got the idea. Here's what we do. Every few bars, whilst the song is playing, write down, that's pretty soft. P, you write what I think it is. And as the song goes on, it's like, oh, there's going to be a bit of a jump in the volume there. There's an F. You sort of keep going like you're writing a musical sentence of a sort. The more times you do these sorts of things, you start to get a bit more, it sort of fine-tunes your idea of dynamics in general. Try this one out. Rhythm! Rhythm is the pulse that keeps music moving forward, that gives it motion, a sense of motion. So, we're all pretty familiar with the idea of rhythm. It's one of the very first musical concepts that we ever really established. You think back to early childhood where you might have been sitting in class and your school teacher was getting you to clap. And I've even heard things over time like going ta, 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 and stuff like that. That's actually pretty on the money. Now, obviously if you get into music later in life, and hey, that's why you're here, you're going to be refining that concept further and further. So, as you might know, we have crotchets, which is like a single. This is just a précis. We can go into more detail on this if we haven't already. Quavers, which is essentially 2 per beat, or semiquavers, 1 E-ander, 2 E-ander. If I got this metronome going, I love the metronome, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So I'd hold this up like this. So crotchets would be down the click. 1, 2, 3, 4. A semiquaver, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Semis, 1 E-ander, 2 E-ander, 3 E-ander, 4 E-ander. I can't click that quick, but you got the idea. So, I've got something pretty cool in mind for this one. So, we're going to listen to a song called Trust by Megadeth. Gotta love Megadeth. So here's the idea with this one. We're going to identify the time signature. So we've talked about time signatures in class. Time signature being how many counts are within a bar. So, whilst I'm not going to give this one away, I'm pretty sure you guys have all the faculties and skills necessary to discern what this time signature actually is. From there, there's going to be a drum intro. A really cool, awesome extended drum intro. I want you to try and detect what that is being counted in. So, are they crotchets, semiquavers, or quavers? The trick to this is to try and count it out loud to yourself at first. So once you sort of lock in with it, you're going 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a or 1 and 2 and 3, and you'll find what it is. After that, continue out throughout the entire piece and check out, alright, what about the guitars? What are they going to be playing and what sort of feel? So we sometimes call these grooves. So if I'm saying we're playing in an 8th groove, that means I'm talking about quavers, being 8th notes. Or a 16th groove, 1E and a 2E and a, these are semiquavers. So anyway, check out the song and report back to me. Harmony. Now we're getting into the real meat of things. Harmony builds all the structures we pretty much know in music, all the music that we love. So a harmony, let's talk about the standard major chord that we've all talked about. It's a basic triad. So the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th of a scale, I'm pretty sure you'll remember. So that would mean the 1st would be the tonic, the 3rd would be harmonizing with that tonic, and so would the 5. What gives chords their body and their overall sort of idea and quality is harmony itself. So effectively you can say harmony is the relationship between 2 or more notes, okay? We call that relationship a cadence. So if we don't just have to harmonize chords, we can actually do scales. So if I played a C major scale, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, as we have many times, I'm sure you don't hear it again. If I played simultaneously with that, a 3rd above, it's going to harmonize. It's actually going to create this really cool sound. By training our ears, we can actually learn to hone in on these specific intervals. So there's a process called solfege. You've probably heard of this before. The idea of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Now here's the thing, most people say ti-do, and D being B in this case. So you think of it like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, back to the octave. So C, here's a bit of an interesting little anecdote, this one, is actually the traditional Italian way of saying it. T became very popular partially because of Julie Andrews and The Sound of Music. So think of this, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do correlates exactly with C, D, E, F, G, A, B and the octave. So using that, we can also just put numbers alongside it as well, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when we're first learning intervals, which I actually have done with a few of you, if I said, okay, unison, I can hear that's a unison note. What if I said 1, 5? 1, 5. You can actually hear that jump. It's not quite to the octave, it's that perfect stainless steel halfway point. So, here's a general rule of thumb to help guide you with this. In a scale, as we know, there is a chord scale, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. As a rule of thumb, a minor interval will sound fraught. It vibrates against itself. 1, 3. Hear that? Where if I go 1, 5 again, 1, 5, it's smooth. So recapping that, a minor interval tends to vibrate more against itself, that's what gives it that quality. And a major interval tends to be a lot smoother. Just in quality, it's a good way of starting to pick these things up. Also think of it in terms of distance. So how far we're jumping to the next note. So if it sounds very close, like 1, 2, that's not far off at all. But if I go like 1, 7, well, that's going to sound quite drastic. And being a diminished interval, it sticks out quite a bit. So here is your mission with this one, and I reckon you'll like it. An absolute genius of an artist that is not only well-known in metal circles, but he's cross-genres as well, is Devin Townsend. He was in a band once called Strapping Young Lad. I adore this man personally, he's one of my great musical heroes. Now, Devin Townsend has a song named Save Our Now. Save Our Now, very positive, up sort of a song, which isn't always characteristic of Mel. Here's what I want you to do. It is rife with harmonies, especially vocal harmonies. I would like you to listen to the whole track, but especially towards the beginning, there is a lot of vocal harmony. See if you can actually identify the tonic, a third, and a fifth. See if you can hear those intervals in there. There are going to be some other ones, but if you sort of use a C major scale to guide your way through, I bet you can actually start to identify these intervals. Melody. Melody. The driving, overarching musical lines that sort of add the final layer of detail and polish to a song. So whilst chords might be sort of doing their thing, chugging along with the rhythm guitarist, well, that's all well and good, but the melody player might be going, they add that extra little sparkle over the top. Now, whilst a good riff, especially in metal and rock and roll, is something you should be able to sing along with and it's as memorable as the lyrics, so is a good melody. And melody, a really awesome melody, will tend to have a way of accentuating the character of the song, soaring over the top. That's a good way to think of it, because sonically, that's where they tend to sit. Not often does a bass player or something more in the some sort of range of a piece or a mix tend to carry the melody of a song, although it's not unheard of, so it's best to exercise critical listening and good oral skills and be on your guard. Now for this one, melody is going to be, tends to be carried by a specific instrument. Now we're going to use a pretty awesome example here. So let's look at Hybrid Nightmares. Hybrid Nightmares have a song named Jupiter, and it is absolutely freaking awesome if you haven't already heard it. Good to crank in the car, kinda dangerous that way, it makes you speed. Kids, don't listen to what I'm saying there. So, Hybrid Nightmares, Jupiter. I would like you to listen right through the song and listen to what instrument, this is a quick one, what instrument is predominantly carrying the melody. So, whilst a melody line can be thrown between instruments, there is one instrument in particular that's actually carrying the torch in this one. If you can hone in and identify it, you can start to be more aware of other songs. Find 3 other songs within the metal genre, explore. That's actually part of the fun and part of the joy of music in general. See if you can identify the melody line, or what instrument is carrying the melody line as well, within the songs of your choice. Now folks, we're down to the real nitty-gritties. We're going back to the whole roots of metal. So whilst arguably there was a cloister of bands over in England that actually kick-started the whole genre, you can also arguably trace it back to a single guitarist, Tony Iommi. If you're not familiar with him, do some research on him. There is a true person that has overcome adversity, as well as inventing an entire genre and an entire style, his own through his own style of music. He's absolutely incredible. So, your mission with this one is we're going to be talking about form and structure. So, form and structure are literally what makes the, well, structures within the songs that we hear. So this is a more macro sense, a bigger sense of how we approach things. So let's say I'm trying to break down Carry On My Wayward Son by Kansas. Good song. I would be going, okay, one of my very first stops in trying to understand this song is, where do all the verses go? How long are the verses? Where do the choruses go? Is there a bridge? Is it something we sometimes call middle 8? These are the questions we need to ask. And we can actually learn to do this stuff pretty well. So I'm actually going to give you guys a bit of a task on this one. We're going to listen to Black Sabbath's Paranoid, the track that arguably started the entire metal genre. A scathing critic once described it as sending a bunch of heavy metal all crashing down, and the name stuck. So, listen to Black Sabbath's Paranoid, and I would like you to start to go, okay, is this a verse, is this a chorus, and start notating it. We'll recap this at the end. You're probably asking, well, how do I know what a verse is, and how do I know what a chorus is? Think of this. A verse tends to carry the story of a song. It advances the story, or the tale, or whatever's being told. The chorus tends to be the repeating section that people want to sing along with. We're all pretty familiar with the idea of a chorus. The bridge though, people tend to get a bit confused what a bridge really is. The bridge, as I was always told, you think of it like the song within the song. It can even be although thematically similar, a different idea. It's a way of breaking up the monotony as well and bridging between sections. So you tend to hear them towards the end of a song, but whilst there's some particular forms that, if you're familiar with English and poetic meter and stuff like that, it follows the same idea. ABA, AAB, etc. ABC, all that kind of stuff. So with the Sabbath tune, here's what we're going to do. We're going to identify, again, which ones are the verses. You'll recognize them because that's the one where the story's being told. The chorus is the catchy line you want to sing along with. And the bridge, well, in this case, it's actually going to be the solo. I'll give you a heads up. You can solo over a bridge instead of sing. There's no real limits on these things. So it's a good thing to take to heart with your own songwriting. So here's what we're going to do. We're also going to count the bars. So I'd like you to hone in, find what the backbeat is. Sorry, the backbeat. What am I saying? The downbeat. Jeez, Nat. The downbeat of the song, okay? So the time signature, essentially, it's what it's highlighting. And I would like you to go, okay, oh, this must be verse 1. Count out how many bars verse 1 goes for. Then, same thing with the chorus. You might notice after a little while, this establishes a bit of a pattern. The verse might be the same, verse 2 might be the same length as verse 1. This is a very common thing to actually come across, but don't always count on it. It's good to do your due diligence and listen all the way through, because sometimes a curveball's gonna get thrown. Something's gonna be changed, lengths can be altered. You know, again, it's artistic expression at its sometimes most annoying, but it's a very important part of it. So listen to Sabbath and really hone in on it. Prayer at the altar of Sabbath. So get the whole length, then report back to me. That's about all we really have time for, guys, but I wish you all a very, very, very merry festive season, and I'll see you all in the new year.